He had just done the impossible, traveled several years into the past and killed his father years before Johnny would be born. So, how was it that he was still there? An excerpt from page 9 of Time Waits for No One by Steve Bellinger. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and to the review of Time Waits for No One by Steve Bellinger. This is one of those amazing science fiction novels that I've ever read. You know, I've always been a fan of Steve Bellinger's writing for some times now. Like, I love his books, I love his storytelling techniques, I love his characterization, I love his use of words, and I love his acute sense about time travels. And his novels to me are just quite enthralling that sometimes they had me in captive until I finished indulging my relatable emotions in it. And that's what happened to me while I read through Time Waits for No One by Steve Bellinger. You know, it expounds on the importance of time. It talks about the essentiality of time, touches on different sort of themes that actually have me quite introspective, that leave me, pondering and thinking about it long after I've read it. Some part of the book expound on the old time racism. Some part expound on science, on physics, on psychology, and on different methods depending on how the reader seem to themselves to interpret it. And I so much love this book. It actually have my 5-star review. So before I proceed in my short video book review, my review of this book is actually going to be spoiler free. I won't be talking about everything in entirety. I'm just be talking about some points of the book so you can have an idea of what Steve Bellinger has had again to communicate in this amazing science fiction novel, Time Waits for No One. So I'll be reading to you the synopsis. Time Waits for No One, the Chronicle chronicles. Time travel is incredibly dangerous. Building a time machine is surprisingly simple. In 2015, Tony Carpenter stumbled upon the plan for the Chronicle, a time machine conceived before it could be built by Dr. Simi Johnson, a genius, a scientist, and a son of a slave. Tony's visit to 1919 to see the doctor and his lovely daughter, Ollie, turned into disaster, forcing the doctor to make a most difficult final decision. Now, the timeline has worked its way back to 2012. A new Tony Carpenter is about to be hit by a real blast from the future when he chances upon Dr. Johnson's granddaughter, who has a story he can hardly believe and evidence of a journey to the past it cannot deny. When Tony shows up in 1919, yet again, Dr. Johnson is confronted with the possibility of his invention ultimately obliterating all of creation. Can they locate and destroy all the copies of the journals with his articles and any chronicle that may exist before everything literally goes to hell? And that's something that I find quite exceptional about this book. That's a point that leaves me thinking about this book long after I've read it. You know, Steve Bellinger is one of those amazing science fiction writers that I've ever known. His books had made me fall in love with science fiction. Following on from the adventurous journey that Tony Carpenter had in the Fox book series, The Chronicle and The Van Adventure in Time, picking up Time Waits for No One is absolutely enthralling to me. Picking up Time Waits for No One, it's that actually have me quite enthralled. And I am so happy and delighted to have read this book. I love the concept. I love the storytelling techniques. I love the ideas that the author seek to communicate here. And many of it had me resonating and imagining if I as a person would ever have the opportunity to use a chronicle, then I would love to travel back to the past and probably save my relative who died in the Biafra War. I would have, loved to travel back to the past and probably save myself and correct those decisions that I've made in time past that causes the pains of today. If I could ever have the chance to use a chronicle, just like Tony Carpenter here, I would have loved to go back to those days and probably experience the Biafra War in Nigeria. And I would have loved to witness those days when the Nigerian pound is one of the highest currency in the world. I would have loved to use a chronicle to visit my forefathers and probably did something back in history. But this read, this fact, this saying is somewhat like an hyperbole. It's something like an exaggeration. It's like, you saying something that is not ever going to come to reality. Because the authenticity of someone visiting the past from the future is somewhat obscure to me. It's something that even beyond science description is a fact that still needs a lot of debate and introspection. And that's one of those amazing concepts that I seek to love in Steve Bellinger's writing. His book left me thinking long after I read it, and I need to say that this book actually have my 5-star review. It holds my sincere recommendation, and I so much recommend this book to lovers of science fiction and literature at large. Okay, before I proceed in my short video book review and recommendation, I'd love to read to you about Steve Bellinger. Steve was born and raised on the west side of Chicago by a single mom who worked night for a printing company. She would bring home books and magazines to encourage him and his siblings to read. This is how he discovered Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein, Arthur C. Clarke, and the other masters of classic science fiction. It didn't take long for him to get the itch to write. Over the years, he's written everything from newspaper articles to comic strips and radio drama to short stories and fan fiction. Steve resides in the Lincoln Park community in Chicago with his wife Donna and Ignat the cat, who graciously allow them to live there with him. This book actually details the danger of time travel. This book details the airiness, the strangeness, the weirdness of time travel. Because here, a time traveler called Johnny had visited the past from the future. Johnny had come through a chronicle of which he had read an article by Dr. Simi Johnson. As I've said in time past in the chronicle, Dr. Simi Johnson is the one who came up with the idea. He had written a plan, he had written an article about space travel, he had written an article about time travel, and a lot of people had followed this article to build a chronicle for themselves. Now, a chronicle is a machine that allows people to travel to the past, that allow people to visit the past from the future, or probably the future from the past. And Johnny had built a chronicle in this novel. So he went back to visit his father. Something eerie happened when Johnny was going to visit his father from the past. He mistakenly killed his father. At this time, the police came and intervened, and they asked him, "What have you done? You've just killed this man." And he told them that it's his father. He didn't know. He actually made a mistake and killed him. Though one of the police that actually spoke with Johnny here, that's Officer O'Donnell, said that Oogie, which is actually the father of Johnny, whom Johnny had just killed, that Oogie had told him in time past about time travel. He had heard him talk about time travel a lot of time. But he was just telling him that, "Tell me the truth. What really happened?" So Johnny, in my own perception, stupid sense, said that he had came to offer a birthday gift to his father, who will be turning 30. And when they asked him, "How old are you?" he said he's 43. "Then tell me, how are you 43 and your father is 30? By the way, how is it even possible for you as a son to come visit your father in the past when you're not even yet born?" Officer O'Donnell made a statement here that actually had me laughing. It was like, "Did you see where I have problem with all of this?" If he's really your father, then how were you born? He hasn't even got married yet. He hasn't even have a wife, talk less of giving birth to you. So because of this fallacy, because they found Johnson's assertion quite strange and unbelievable, they had to throw him into the jail. That's how he ended up in the jail. But something actually happened here, and Johnny was eventually able to escape the jail and return back to Dr. Samuel Johnson. So once he figured out a way to get to Dr. Johnson, he told him that he has a problem with this time travel thing, that he had just gone back to time and he had mistakenly killed his father. And he asked Johnson, Dr. Johnson, tell me, how is this ever possible? He was shocked when Dr. Johnson told him that yes, it is possible. Moving into another transition here, some silly people had come together in order to, they call themselves historians. They want to study religious history. And so they actually enter something like a chronicle also here. And they're trying to go back to the time to witness the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. But something early happened. They met their desired strangeness, just as usual. The novel kept unfolding to the point whereby Dr. Johnson had seen that a lot of people are getting crazy about this time travel of a thing. A lot of people are reacting weird to this time travel. And so he set himself on a journey to destroy every other available article in order to prevent future time travelers, in order to prevent future people from traveling to time and making a drastic mistake and making an irreversible mistake that could even claim their own life. I love the plot twist that will make me talk about Martha. Martha here is a daughter of Oli. Tony Carpenter had visited Martha. You know, Tony Carpenter is one of those amazing character here, more or less like the protagonist in the first book series, The Chronicle. And the adventure of Tony Carpenter in this second book series is like a follow-up of what happened to him in the first book series, which I reviewed in time past. You can find a link to that in the description part of this video. So Tony Carpenter visited Martha. Yeah, Martha handed over a phone to him. She told him that the phone had been staying over there for over 90 years. Then she gave it to him and said, okay, you can just go through it, because she was trying to explain some things to him, but it was quite difficult for Tony. So Martha handed over the phone to Tony. So once Tony gets home, he went through the phone, and what he saw in the picture aspect, in the picture section, had him agape. He was shocked. It was like, what kind of thing is this? He saw a picture of an old woman standing beside someone that looked exactly like him. And immediately he ran to Martha and said, Martha, what's all this? I found this unbelievable. What is this? Who is this man? And Martha told him that he is a time traveler by name Tony Carpenter, who built a chronicle and landed in his grandfather's compound in times past. And you know, that's a picture of a mother, that's Oli, and the picture of the guy, Tony Carpenter. It was like, that's why I found him. He looks exactly like you. So Tony was quite shocked. He was surprised. And again, when Martha went ahead and explained to him all that happened to Tony Carpenter, his education at the Illinois Institute of Technology. And Tony was like, oh no, I haven't got there before, but I have plan of taking night classes there. So everything Martha said about the Fox Tony absolutely relate to the second Tony. And he was shocked, he was dumbfounded, he was agape, he was not developing likeness and interest in the whole issue and topic. And so Martha told him that she would love to prevent other future travelers. And so she paid Tony in order to look for the book that contains Dr. Jimmy's article about time travel and chronicle and destroy them. So this set Tony into another adventure, and they keep going, the plots will keep moving in a thrilling and fascinating manner. So the story unfolds, and Tony, together with Art, arrived 1958. They had traveled 54 years back in time. And once they get here, something horrendous happened. You know, as usual, the strange thing always happen. And you know, Tony was going to fetch water, was just going to take some drink in a particular tap. And that water led him turning into a prisoner. And just like the first book series, The Chronicle and One Adventure in Time, Time Waits for No One also stylishly expound on racism back then in those days. The racism of the blacks by the white, the racism and the racial indiscrimination, the prejudice and all of that is also expounded in Tony's adventure here, where a single sip of water had turned him into an overnight prisoner. It also happened to Dr. Johnson when he was about publishing his book, Most people or publication firm, once they get to know that he was a colored man after reading an article, they denied him of publication. It was later on to the point whereby a professor saw his article and was quite fascinated with it. That was why, or that was how he was awarded as a doctor in physics, even though he had tried his possible best, to go into higher institution, and it was quite very heavy and difficult for him. So afterward, Tony eventually escaped prison and immediately get into the Chronicle together with the help of his friend Art, and he was able to travel back in time to revisit Dr. Johnson. And that's why I found the book, like I tell my review of it on Amazon, as obscurely fascinating. The weirdness of time travel, because the whole thing is quite weird. It's enthralling, but it's weird. It is fascinating, but it's unbelievable. And one of the reasons we actually find it quite obscurely fascinating is the point whereby Tony himself will be able to make some prediction, not really prediction, it's more or less like a seer. Someone who came from the future visiting someone in the past would know very much about the future. And at a point, himself and Martha was having a kind of conversation with a guy named Jojo. And after Tony gave Jojo a nice fix, he fell in the floor and started running away. Tony made a statement that, I can't believe that you finally married that crap. Oli was like, marry as in how? He said, yeah, you eventually married him. The lady that set me into all of this journey is your daughter, and that's Martha, and her father is Jojo. So it's quite unbelievable that you eventually married this silly man. So this actually caused Oli to start crying. But eventually, something weird happened. The story kept unfolding, and it was unfolding in a dynamic manner. It got to the point whereby Tony mistakenly killed Oli. He wasn't actually intentional about it. Something happened, and some people actually trying to pursue him, just like the racism as explained in the first book series, The Chronicle and the Bad Adventure in Time. This book also touches on the theme of racism and all of that. At each point, whenever he wants to travel back to time to correct the death of Oli, or to correct and make adjustment to one or two things, he always encountered difficulty. He always encountered one problem and the other. And it was just quite strange. And that's one of the reasons why it is obviously stated in the back page of the book that time travel is incredibly dangerous. However, this book actually left me with contemplation. It left me, if really we can actually travel from the future to the past. Like if I'm even able to travel from 2022 when this review is made and go back to 2005, I would have loved to make a nice adjustment. I would have loved to correct some certain things to prevent the pains of today. If possibly, I'm able to travel back to the years like 50 years ago, like moving back into 1960 or 1954 or 1884 to experience what was life as a day. But it's just not possible because time truly waits for no one. Once again, Steve Bellinger proves himself as a fantastic science fiction writer, and I'm a fan of his work. I love his use of word. I love his writing style. Reading his books so far had made me fall in love with science fiction. I've read quite a lot of his books. Here I have the Chronicle and the Bad Adventure in Time. The same thing here because I have 2 copies. I've also read Edge of Perception, which I reviewed in Time Packs. And here, this apocalypse, the digital dystopia is coming. And now I'm picking up Time Wait for No One. This is actually the second book series today, is the Chronicle. And I am so intrigued with Steve Bellinger's choice of word. I love his storytelling techniques. I love his ideas. I love his characterization. They all truly make for an interesting read. I'm going to recommend this book to lovers of fiction, to lovers of philosophy, to those who have once time questioned the actuality of space travel and time travel. This is such a fascinating read to me. This is such an enthralling read to me, and I absolutely love it. The book owns my 5-star review, and I'm recommending it to lovers of science fiction and literature at large. I'd also love to urge you to watch the other reviews of the book, Apocalypse, The Digital Dystopia is Coming, The Chronicle and the Bad Adventure in Time, and Edge of Perception, a paranormal science fiction love story, which I've attached over here, and I've also left a link in the description part of this video. So, if you'd like to get a copy of Time Wait for No One, I left a link in the description part of this video for you to get a copy directly on Amazon. I also left a link to an interview that I conducted with Steve Bellinger in the description part part of this video. So this is where I'm gonna stop my video book review of Time Waits for No One by Steve Bellinger. It's quite fascinating to me, and it's a book that I absolutely recommend. It's a book that I absolutely love so much, and it's a book that I'm recommending to lovers of science fiction over there. If you love writers like Isaac Asimov, I'm pretty sure you're gonna pick interest in any of Steve Bellinger's writing. So thank you so much for watching. If you're yet to click on the subscribe button, I'd love you to please click on the subscribe button over there. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can get notified anytime I release new videos. Thank you so much for watching my short video book review of Time Waits for No One by Steve Bellinger. See you in my next video. Goodbye.